while to get all these out because...
Well, as you can see, we've evolved since then. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host, Gamer K, and we are finally in December, ladies and gentlemen. The year of 2025 is coming to an end, and this year has been fantastic. But seeing that old video of me with my close-up camera, no art on the walls, that couch that deteriorated very quickly underneath. Holy crap. And I've gotten a lot better at this in 6 years. So, and it's very fitting because the topic is basically the same thing. Kingdom Hearts has been a fan favorite of mine for so many years. It's been a journey loving the series like that. And back then, like I said, I was not good at doing these videos. I wasn't good at constructualizing them, coming up with ideas. I was just going off of what other people said. And I've decided to revamp that list because I've done a lot of revamping from a lot of my old lists. Wondering if I'll do any more in the future. But that's for another year. I am doing my top 13 Kingdom Hearts worlds that I would love for Kingdom Hearts 4. Now, as always, there are a few rules with my top 13s. And because this is a revamped list, I am keeping a good majority of what was on there on. I've removed a couple ideas because I thought they couldn't work. Or they were ideas that were implemented already, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyway, my whole point is, these are ideas that, yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have had. But again, I'm taking my own interpretations on them. I'm giving my own opinions. These are ideas I've been thinking about for years and years and years. Hell, in high school, I used to draw up ideas. Granted, my drawing skills aren't really the best when it comes to looking super detailed. But the ideas were pretty much on point, the same. What else? Okay, other big rule. And I know a lot of people have gotten on this bandwagon when it comes to new Kingdom Hearts ideas. I will not be including anything that isn't 100 Disney. So no Star Wars, no Marvel, and as stupid as this idea is, and I thank God no one's ever thought of it, no Anastasia. Nothing that Disney has appropriated. Everything has to be either 100% Disney, Kingdom Hearts, and for one topic, Square Enix. Because if we can have the Final Fantasy crew come into the game, to come into Olympus Coliseum and in Hollow Bastion, why not give other Square Enix a chance, you know? I'll also be going over quick kind of rapid fire, the ideas, some of the story. So, for a revamp, this is Gamer K's top 13 Kingdom Hearts worlds for Kingdom Hearts 4. And why top 13? Because I'm seeking my Seekers of Darkness. Now, anyone who's watching my video, anyone who's been watching my videos for the last good number of years knows that only the odd can be number one here at the Game Hub. So let's get into it. The Great Mouse Detective, one of my favorite underrated Disney movies that needs to be in this game. It would be kind of challenging coming up with the levels, but going into the Great Mouse Detective would be kind of fun. Sora, Donald, and Goofy being shrunk down to mouse size, finding Olivia, defending her from the Heartless, and then bringing her to Basil Baker Street, where we have to convince him to, to help out. Which would bring us upon investigating with Basil and Dawson, obviously cutting the need for other certain characters. Having Fidget being a mini-boss with a bunch of Heartless would be really, really cool. There would probably be a moment where he gets his peg leg stuck, and that would be a window to attack. A good number of Heartless could be... Felicia could be a great boss fight. No, not that Felicia, guys. Right, cat. Name is right. Cat's right. Wrong series. But, yeah. It could be really cool. I mean, it's not the first time we fought a giant animal. Actually, now that I think about it, both of them have been cats. And then the big fight with Ratigan would be absolutely fantastic. And fighting him with his animalistic rat form would be absolutely perfect. And this would be the perfect time to do a tag team battle with him and a Heartless that gets created by his absolute hatred for Basil for foiling his plans for the final time. So it would give a really, really great instant for helping out. I mean, it's not the first time a Heartless has helped out a big boss in a way. I mean, we had Clayton and Barbosa get one, so Ratigan getting one wouldn't be that big of a stretch. Yeah, I got no jokes to end this off of. Great Mouse Detective. It's on the bottom of my list because it's not as well thought out as my other ideas, so let's get going. This has been on my list since the very first list, and it's reminiscing a lot of ideas for me because one of my favorite attractions at Disney is going away to make room for something else. Well, let's go to Ant Island, ladies and gentlemen, with A Bug's Life. This would be so good. And the fact that they finally did Pixar levels, technically only got 2, and Remy was in Twilight Town. Yee. Let's change that. Ant Island would be perfect. Coming up, I mean, what they did with a Monstropolis and the monster forms that they made were great. So seeing what insect looks they could give Sora, Donald, and Goofy. Okay, I think I've been desensitized to drink every time that someone says that way. Damn you, reviewer! But again, it's a stretch because Ant Island doesn't have that many big locations to go on. I mean, the whole island would be pretty immense, and then going into the colony. And like I said, they've created crazy pathways in other levels, so this would definitely work. Going to the big city would be another good one to recruit the bugs with Flick, and obviously defending him. The story could go basically the same, except with the minor difference that we don't get there until after the grasshoppers leave. Because if Sora stands up to Hopper, it kind of loses the whole sense of the world, the whole sense of the story. So after the grasshoppers leave and we get a small fight with some of them as they stay behind, the grasshoppers could be really, really fun enemies to fight, if not a little annoying for the first bit. And then obviously with Flick, we obviously defend him against the grasshoppers once he's trying to figure stuff out. And then the council decides that he is to be. And considering the fact that they heard that there are some bigger insects in the city, we obviously misconstrued that to being heartless. So we offer to go and protect Flick on his journey. And where we get to learn more about him, obviously, you know, the whole story, talking to the new hero, blah, 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 knowing the world. Heartless-wise, a lot more insect ones would be really fun because a lot more of them are animals and items and inanimate objects. Also, having a giant bird Heartless would be great because it fits with the world and that the fact that birds are dangerous. So it would work so well. And then the final confrontation with Hopper. Oh my God, it would be so epic. Him jumping around the arena, him jumping around the battlefield, stomp crashing us, calling in Thumper to come attack us. Basically bringing in his swarms of grasshoppers to fight us off would be really fun idea. Again, this idea is still at the bottom of the list because it's not so much well developed, because it would be very, very difficult to come up with this whole scheme. But again, we've done shrinking worlds before, so I say, why the hell not? Well, that music is somewhat familiar, and okay, I know it was only used to give more people in Traverse Town, and I haven't actually played the game, but I did watch the anime, and a lot of people didn't like it. Let's go to Shibuya with the world that ends with you guys. I mean, Neku Sakuraba is a great character, and Shiki, Beat, Rhyme are fantastic. We could absolutely have fun in this level. And plus, it's another Square Enix property that isn't just being used for filler. I'm not saying that the Final Fantasy characters are filler. It would just be a fun way from the dream world, Sora to remember Neku. And obviously Neku's never heard of Sora because that was all dreams. So obviously we partner up with him, and we kind of a mini game level where we had to fight off the monsters with the other characters, and then the boss fight with the Reapers, the Heartless, or we just scratch Heartless from this world and just fight the Noise because it is their own world. And having a boss fight with Joshua finally would actually be pretty cool instead of the way that they did it in their own game. It would be pretty refreshing. Again, this is another lower one because, again, not really high focus, not really high on the design of it. But I still think it would be really cool to implement a new world for Square Enix where we don't have to have so many Final Fantasy characters in one section. Okay, we've gone through 3 lower ones, and now let's get on to the top tiers of the list. Birth by Sleep gave us a great opener. A great opening. Wait a minute, that was 10 years. Shoot. Technically 11 years considering the whole... Anyway, they gave us a great opening, and obviously time goes different during in the worlds. There's a different time thing. So the fact that we could land in Hawaii and meet up with Stitch again wouldn't be the worst idea. Lilo and Stitch having to finally get Stitch's world with Sora because he spent so much time with him. How did he get in Hollow Bastion in the first place? God damn it. That's something I wanted to know for years. How the hell did Stitch get to Hollow Bastion? We catch up with him. Lilo thinks we're stealing him because you know how Lilo goes. We could even have something where she kicks Sora in the shin. Because, you know, Lilo would do that. And then Stitch explains that they're his old friends. Which they technically are. And it would be so fun to see Stitch again in his natural habitat. And we kind of get with Lilo trying to make Stitch good again, but he's been good with us the entire time. Unless he's not been on the, God damn it, this is difficult. Trying to work continuity into this whole thing and make it feel original. Unless we don't go by You know what? No, I'm going with an idea I had when I was a teenager in high school for this world. Instead of it being focused on the level of the movie, let's go for what Toy Story and Monsters Inc. did and do a prequel level. Basically, my idea was this was during the events of Stitch the movie, with all the experiments being released. After helping Stitch so much, Lilo asks us if we can help find the experiments. And, the question, what are the experiments? And then Jumba and Pleakley come on to give us the whole thing. That Gantu, basically, the whole releasing all of them into the island and the entirety of the world. This would be a big mini boss section. And I love this idea. Basically, after fighting a bunch of Heartless, we would then go and back to Lilo's house, where Jumba gives us the breakdown that some of the experiments have been noticed in certain areas, but these monsters are fueling their negativity, as not their negativity, but their programming, and making them more violent and more vicious. So it's up to us and Stitch to go out to each area and fight the mini bosses. Now, I used to have one where every single location will have a mini boss, but that's way too many, unless we do that and we just fight them at certain times. And yes, fighting the experiments would be great, and giving a variety of them would actually be beneficial. Having like Yin and Yang, Kicks, Slushy, Splody Head, Richter, Spooky would be a good one. Who else? Yarp. And of course, then the final would be fighting Gantu with Hamstaville. Again, I'm going really, really full on this idea because it's a great idea. Fighting the experiments, giving us extra buffs and extra abilities. And you can tackle any of them in any order you want. But once you complete them all, then we go into the big boss fight after we heal up at the house, as all the experiments have been captured by Gantu while we were out in the field. Because every time we capture... So yeah, that would be a pretty good idea for the level of Lilo and Stitch, and it would be very, very fun, again, to not do a story that's centered around the movie. I mean, it is centered around the movie, but more adjusted for the Kingdom Hearts formula. So, let's continue. How has Treasure Planet not been ideated for Kingdom Hearts? We are literally sailing in between, and the spaceship would be perfect. I don't get it. The Treasure Planet, the whole level would be fantastic. Needs to happen. I mean, come on. Imagine fighting with that wave rider. Okay, not Sora having his own wave rider, because we've already seen him drive and everything, and he's way too irresponsible. But working with Jim Hawkins, being on the crew, fighting Mr. Scroop in the rafters of the ship would be fantastic. And then finally getting to the area of Treasure Planet. No. Yeah. Because figuring out that that everything is hindering on us succeeding, we split up. As Jim goes with Long John Silver and his other crew, we defeat the Heartless that are working for them, and then we get back up to the ship in order to get what we need, the map. And we have to fight Mr. Scroop in the process. And then along the fight on Treasure Planet, we get a monstrous Heartless that's been accumulated. Kind of like what Port Royal did with the accumulated of greed with all that treasure and merging into one massive mechanical Heartless. And then obviously we would have to fight Long John Silver, because halfway through the battle would end. He's being influenced by the Heartless. But we don't fully defeat him, because that's not how the movie went. We snap him out of it after the boss fight, after we defeat the giant mechanized Heartless and the rest of the island. And then we would get one of the coolest scenes ever with Sora kind of... I don't really know how the ending would go, but it would definitely be a great moment. And the moment between Jim and Silver at the end, Sora and gang could just be listening in on the whole conversation. And after he lets him go, Sora kind of talks to Jim about, you have faith in him, huh? Or something along that lines, that he's not as bad as everyone thought. So Jim kind of obvious, and Jim would go like, don't know what you're talking about. Having something like that really work well with this is something that a lot of scenarios do look kind of along the same added moments of when Jack asked for Sora's Keyblade at the end of Port Royal, and him always treating him like he's their subordinates and everything, even in Kingdom Hearts 3, and I still love it. It's an added bonus that would add to the world and to the movie-esque feeling of the whole world. I wanted an idea where I can actually go into depth, and I got it. Princess and the Frog. This could be another great example of, even though we're kind of done with it, Sora and gang looking for more of the Neo Princesses of Heart. Because they already did it with Rapunzel and with Anna and Elsa, so we need more, just in case. Basically, we get to the party a little bit afterwards, and Charlotte, Tiana's friend, saying that her friend's gone missing and after the party, and she wants to know where she is. And that's basically what leads us to discovering another bigger plot where Prince Naveen obviously calls upon some Heartless in order to cause a little bit of trouble to look like a hero. And that's when we obviously jump in and save us. And that's when Charlotte asks us that since we're so strong, we can find Tiana for her. That's where Naveen comes up with the idea of sending us to the Shadow Man, saying that there's a voodoo man who would probably know where to find her, and directs us to his shop. And as we go, there's Dr. Facilier, and hopefully they can get Keith David to voice him in the game. Please. I know Keith is busy with Has-Been, but the man needs to be in the game, please. So after figuring out that we're a threat, because maybe Maleficent and Pete are going to new worlds and gathering new allies, because Ursula's down, Hook's out, Oogie Boogies have been unraveled, Jafar is done, and Hades already said that you can keep your Heartless. I'm going back to my original plan, so get lost. And I was already warned Facilier about someone not from the world. So to that end, he brings his shadow to fight us while he's working on some voodoo with his friends from the other side. We defeat and this could be a bonus, defeating the shadow. It weakens him a little bit, so he'll have to recuperate. But he uses his voodoo not to turn us into frogs, but again, to shrink us down to the appropriate size. And then we're weak enough, and then he sends his shadow to send us into the bayou, so that we'll be out of his hair. While we're in the bayou, we're woken up by by Tatiana and Naveen, asking why we're small humans, or whatever Donald and Goofy are. Basically, we talk about the Shadow Man and that Prince set us up, and then Naveen comes clean that wasn't really him. You know, keeping in the lines of the movie, but adding it to the Kingdom Hearts formula again. It's a good idea, and then we meet Ray and Lewis, and then we're being told that in order to get back to normal, we'll need to ask for Mama Odie. So we go. So it's the whole journey through the bayou. We fight Heartless. We traverse through the level, and that's when we're told about the whole thing about having a princess to break the spell, which would mean we have to go all the way back, which isn't that bad, because Mama Odie gives us a little shortcut to get back to New Orleans. And then once we get back, we find out that we're back to regular size. And probably thinking, Donald thinks that because we're not from this world, the magic doesn't last that long. And Naveen, and this is where we kind of fill in the role a little bit left by certain other characters by talking to Naveen about what he really wants in life. And he says, at first he just wanted to live life and not doing anything, but then he met Tiana, saw how hard she worked, and hearing about how hard she works and everything, and that he wants to help her. So, yeah, we root for him. But then just like in the movie, we see the parade thing, and we know for a fact that that's not Naveen. So, just like Sora did in Kingdom Hearts 2 with Ursula, once we see Tiana run away in tears after thinking that Naveen decided to screw her over everything, like in the movie, we get the entire scene where we whip out our Keyblade in the crowd and shoot the light at the locket, and obviously Naveen or Lawrence runs away. We follow him and we find the Shadow Man, and that's when the graveyard scene gets into play, where we have our final confrontation with the Shadow Man, and obviously his friends on the other side will help him as well, with the voodoo dolls and the giant mask heads defending him and sending off attacks. Then after the boss fight, he's been beaten, but he pulls one last trick and gets the upper hand on us. And that's when Tiana does the locket scene and smashes it. And then we get the best death of any Disney villain. I'm sorry. I love this death. It's fantastic, and it gives Dr. Facilier his comeuppance. Afterwards, we get the big, amazing scene with Tiana and Naveen and Charlotte and everything, and oh my god, I've talked too long about this. God damn it. Once again, we get a good summon, but why isn't it an actual world? Game Central Station would be phenomenal. Having Wreck-It Ralph, Vanellope, the entirety of the level. Let's make it kind of like Winnie the Pooh, where it's in a hollow radiant garden in a video game system like Tron was, and then we get going into it, or we just have it being a regular level. Again, same story, but in this one, we obviously would get mini games, which would probably be fun if they don't mess it up. We get the racing mini game, we get Wreck-It Ralph's game, we get a whole bunch. We go from Ralph's World to the main Central Station, and then we go to Hero's Duty, and then Sugar Rush. The big boss fight with King Candy would be epic as hell. Having fight the Cybugs would be even harder, because if they eat a Heartless, they would be, depending on what Heartless they eat, they become one of two types. If they eat a pure blood Heartless, they would obviously become more shadowy and more frenzied. But if they ate the artificial Heartless, they would become more defense-based and harder to fully defeat. There's a big idea, considering they become what they eat, which I do love that concept. Having this level, and then again, we got another Neo Princess of Heart. I mean, it's right there. It's right there. I'm hopeful. Having Wreck-It Ralph in this game, they've already set it up with the summon. It would be a great level, great combat. The Keyblade alone would be really, really fun. The world of us thinking, what if we got a mini boss with Ralph, thinking that he's the villain? because he is a villain. But then that misunderstanding goes away, kind of like the boss fight with Steamboat Pete in a Timeless River. That's something that would definitely add a connection between Sora and the group and Ralph and understanding him more. And then obviously we get whisked away near the end of the level by King Candy claiming that there are Heartless in a certain location and that people are in danger. And then when we come back, we get the aftermath scene of Ralph destroying Vanellope's cart. So we don't have to go through that whole heart-wrenching scene again. Like, we ask Ralph what happened, obviously, and he just says that he's a bad guy and that's all he'll ever be, and then he's going back to his game. So, yeah, we get a lot of drama and a lot of moments in this level. So, again, get to work on it. It's right there waiting for you. Okay, this one's been on my list for so many years, and it's one that I really, really want for ideas. The Axiom. If you don't know what the Axiom is, you weren't paying attention. Wall-E. The world starts off as Sora and gang. I'm not drinking anymore after saying all three of their names. Find this despicable, disgusting, the way the Earth has been in, asking, is this really a world? And then we see the scenes with Wall-E and Eva. Like, Wall-E comes by us and tries to look at us. And obviously he can't really speak that much, so we just say our names. And Wall-E obviously looks confused, and he sees Eva in her closet in her composed mode. And then a giant Heartless comes out of the garbage where we fight him. And after defeating this Heartless and protecting Wall-E and Eva, then the tractor beam comes down, and that's how we fully get to the Axiom. Basically, the Earth is just there as a starting point for us to get right up into the Axiom, where the whole entirety of the level is. It's just a good boss fight section where we don't return, and that idea is something that could be a good idea. Obviously, when we're going to the Axiom, we find out that there are Heartless, and they're all robotic. Obviously, robotic Heartlesses for this level. As we start to figure out things after we talk to the captain about what happened to Earth, and then we meet Otto, who scans us and realizes we're not part of this world, and we're not technically Sora's the only human, but that they are to be ejected for not being people on the Axiom. But the captain delays that order, saying that they kind of helped with the monsters, and they did kind of help bring the robot with the plant. But obviously, again, the plant's missing. And then we start to figure out that Otto is the one who's the villain of this. He's been the one controlling the robotic Heartless, because someone decided to give him extra power. Maleficent. Basically talking down to Otto, saying that if you want to keep the humans safe, you need these. And said that we're the threat. So obviously Otto, already having his directive to never return home and keep the Axiom going so that they'll survive, he's very susceptible to others who claim that they just want to help him and protect the Axiom. So it works. And then the huge boss fight at the end would be fighting all the mechanical Heartless, and then finally getting up to Otto, where he rotates in and out of the area, having lasers at us, spawning more of his mechanical minions. A battle with HAL 9000 in a Disney movie. Whoever would have wanted that? But we do, and it's glorious. It's a great level. That's, again, another spaceship level that can go on the same length of Deep Space and elevate it even further. Since it got revamped, we haven't fully been back. Kingdom Hearts 3, you had one job. Actually, you had many jobs, but one of them was bring us back to Radiant Garden and not in a cutscene only. What are you doing? Having Sora finally get to see Radiant Garden refurbished, repurposed, clean, the way it was in Birth by Sleep, you could have given us that, but you didn't. And I want it back. Going into Radiant Garden, seeing there's not so many Heartless, basically being the hub world again for the worlds and for us, finally getting to meet the organization members' original forms, Alias, Dillion, okay, we know Enzo because of the phone calls, Evan, getting to see everyone again in what Radiant Garden was and what it should have been. Obviously, again, this would pretty much be our starting world, everything. So there wouldn't be so many boss fights. There would be a lot of side missions and everything that we could do here. Because we haven't been back. We haven't been there because once we finished Space Paranoids, that's when the name of it's revealed, and then we go off to the world that never was. So we don't... just traversing the gardens, the mechanical feel of the town with Sora and gang, it would just make so much sense. And I'm mad that we never got it. So, please give us Radiant Garden again, and not just in cutscenes. You know what? This one has also been on my mind for years, and I'm mad that a classic like this hasn't gotten in. Just around the river bend, and we will go... I don't know what to call this world, but basically, Pocahontas. It could be an amazing world. A really, really fun world. One where we first meet John Smith. He introduces us to the men and that they're trying to colonize the land that they found. And we meet Radcliffe, who's ensuring us that there's gold here. And that is their mission in order to find gold. And obviously, it's kind of the same thing that we can't let them know. Again, we got to keep the world order, basically, unless it's everyone else who doesn't know. So Radcliffe sends, and that's when monsters the Heartless start showing up, because obviously they're being attracted to Radcliffe's greed. But we defeat them, and seeing this, Radcliffe decides to send us with John Smith out into further in the land in order to see if there's more gold. And then we see him about to shoot Pocahontas, or he has the gun drawn, and then we are about to stop him, but then we see a little bit more. Pocahontas asks who we are and everything. She doesn't trust us, but she senses something in us, so we're brought to Grandmother Willow while John Smith was given corn, and then he goes back to his camp, saying that he'll catch up with us afterwards. Which I get. It's a good way of John Smith not seeing the great Grandma Willow. And obviously, any old character in this game, in the series, knows that we're from another land. So she talks to us and says that a great evil has set foot on their land and has drawn the attention of the monsters. They were very few before, but now they become very prominent. And putting two and two together, we assume that it would be the British coming in to colonize the land for gold. And then after we come back, we get a nice sweet moment with Pocahontas and John. And then Ko'okum comes out seeing the rage and tries to attack John Smith, and we have to stop him. Because again, Radcliffe's not the only one whose heart is filled with a little bit of darkness. Seeing the jealousy of Pocahontas with him infected him. And once we defeat him, yeah, obviously he dies. This eliminates the unnecessariness of having the redhead in the movie be the one to kill Quokum. So once the other natives are getting closer, Pocahontas is scared, and John Smith doesn't want us to get in trouble, so he tells us to run, and he'll take the fall. But word gets back to Radcliffe, and that's when the whole savages scene comes, and then we get to that big cliff spot where Radcliffe is coming with the soldiers. They obviously shoots John Smith by accident. And then when the soldiers try to restrain him, his anger and greed gets the better of him, and a giant monster, basically combining the aspects of the two factions, becoming a war-driven shaman of a Heartless, incompensates Radcliffe's, giving him the power to collect all the gold in the land and defeat all the natives, and in order for his own ambition. But we're not going to let that happen. This is a Kingdom Hearts story I've been working on since high school, revamping it because it was between then and Dream Drop Distance, where we had the dual gameplay, but I nixed that. We're finally in the top 3, ladies and gentlemen. We're finally in the top 3. Oh, boy. Well, we finally get our final Princess of Heart in this next one. Would Pocahontas count? I think she would, considering Alice counted, and she's not really a princess. So, why not? But now we get into another 2000s classic that is not yet in this game, and it should. Atlantis! Coming into the investigation section of boarding the boat. Seriously, I feel like a majority of these levels, we are defeating many Heartless to prove that we're useful to people. Obviously, we defeat Heartless in front of Roker. He says we need a bit more muscle on the team. We meet Milo. We get to bond with him and talk about his grandfather and everything. And then we have to fight the giant Leviathan mechanical monstrosity. And how do we do that? Well, after losing it, it returns in the volcano section where we have to... Wait, that won't work. This would be an interest... No, wait, we don't have a Keyblade glider either. I'm sure that will be either removed or utilized for a Heartless boss. So again, once we get there, we meet Kida, we meet the Emperor, another Leonard Nimoy character who won't, unless they just use their I'm not saying AI. I'm saying like archived audio from the movie in order to use it, because it'll basically be the same. The king of Atlantis, obviously not trusting us fully, gives us again the day to relax, to rejuvenate everything. We get the amazing scene with Kida and Milo. We have to fight a bunch of Heartless again. And then we find out that the king obviously doesn't trust us. We try to reason with him that we're not here to cause problems. But then he sinks us into a pit, and that's when the Atlantean Leviathan comes out. Wow, did I just pull a Star Wars thing? Oh my god, that was not my intention. Anyway, story goes as always. We fight Heartless. The story progresses. Roker gets turned into that crystallized monster where after he's hit, he falls, but his evil puts him back together and makes him stronger, and we got to fight him. We get another Princess of Heart. We get a movie that's sorely needed in the Kingdom Hearts series. We get amazing visuals. We could get an amazing new Keyblade out of it. We get amazing Heartless. Again, not as epic as my previous ones, but Atlantis doesn't need to hype it up. It's already hype. A mini world, much like Timeless River, that I desperately need in this game. After doing a couple levels, Yin Sid reaches out to us saying that he needs our help back at the mysterious tower. What the problem is that he found this forgotten world and puts it on his table desk, which is basically the cartoon wasteland. He asks us what the issue is, and he says it's something from the past that needs to be helped. So he uses his magic and he enhances the magic in the Keyblade in order for it to awaken a long-lost sleeping world. So Sora uses his Keyblade to open the world and allowing us to go in, where we see that we are returned to our retro forms of Mickey, Donald, of Sora, Donald, and Goofy. I'm not drinking. Where Goofy and Donald will make a joke and say, "This looks kind of familiar." And that's when we're introduced to the cartoon wasteland. Yes, I'm basing this on Epic Mickey. It's a world that is, again, a Disney property that needs to be added because it's so awesome. Obviously, not having Mickey being involved in this or not having the platform paint sections. We talk to some of the characters around, and not a lot of them know who we are or what's going on. But oddly enough, the color has been drained out of a lot of the world, and that's cause for concern. And that's when we meet Hortensia, Oswald's sweetheart. And she basically tells us that a while ago, Oswald tried to go figure out why things were being so bad, and there are certain monsters around, and they always thought it was the Phantom Blot that was the problem. And that's where we get the boss fight with the giant epic Phantom Blot. So we're told to go throughout certain areas of the level in order to find Oswald and to help him out. Which leads us into Tomorrow City, Ventureland, Bog Easy, and Mickey Junk Mountain. Upon discovering Oswald, we figure out that he was kind of manipulated, saying, "No, wait, how can he be manipulated? This land was locked." Basically, what I'm getting at, it's basically another hub level where it would be more boss gauntlet than anything. Where Heartless of certain types of each one, the Beetleworks, plus with the Phantom Blot, with the Mad Doctor. Bringing the Mad Doctor in as the villain would be a little bit better, with the Phantom Blot being the main mastermind, controlling people, creating the monsters. Wow, I am really struggling here. I mean, it's been so long since I've done these ideas, and it's been so long since it's been in my head. No, you know what? Doing it the exact way Timeless River did the levels with there's problems and Heartless in all 4 sections that we gotta defeat them to find out what happened. That could definitely work. Having it be the exact same while helping Oswald, defeating... Oh my god! I just got an idea. This could be scrapping the Phantom Blot, and the Mad Doctor aspect of this, and not using the Beetleworks or the Blotlings. Pete could have found a way in this level and gathered his other selves in order to cause mayhem and to rule this world. Because that would basically be the story of what Epic Mickey 3 would have been. Getting Pete Tronic, Big Bad Pete, Small Pete, Pete Pan, working with him. Yeah, just fighting the Petes in different scenarios. That would be a great aspect. And obviously they captured Oswald with the help of the Heartless. Yeah, that's a little bit better of an idea. Okay, yeah, wow, see, free thinking and free flowing basically just saved my ass in this level, coming up with ideas. So, there we go. Cartoon Wasteland. Basically, beat 'em up Pete again. I can't believe I'm doing this joke for this, but Keyblade, Heartless, theme song guy. Kuzco's Empire! This needs to happen! How the hell has Emperor's New Groove not been I hope it's been at least suggested. Because it would be fantastic. It would be great. Sora and company find themselves at the footsteps of the palace, discovering this new world, and we see Kronk looking around the area, and we ask him if there's anything wrong, and he says, and obviously Kronk, trying not to let it slip what was going on, said he's looking for a llama. And we're kind of confused, like, a llama. Yeah, but this one talks. And he kind of makes up a story about how a peasant kind of stole the Empress's favorite llama, and it talks, so they need to get it back. And obviously Sora, being somewhat dim, believes them. Honestly, to be honest, Sora's not as dim as Terra was, so you kind of got to pick and choose a little bit. So we're told to go forward and through the village hills, where we find Heartless in this world as they're attacking Pacha. Pacha basically says that as a thanks, he's going to bring him to your house in order to give us a place to rest and something to eat. Because Pacha's a great guy, and when we save him, he brings the bag with him, and then the llama is inside, and again, Kuzco basically says he's the emperor, he's not a llama. And obviously we're confused. So there's that whole argument where Pacha basically talks about how terrible Kuzco was as an emperor, that he was a spoiled brat, and was basically going to destroy his house to build a summer pool. Not wanting Kuzco to go off in the jungle themselves, Sora and company accompany him, where we have to do a small boss fight with the many, many, many panthers. Yeah, sounds stupid, but it works. And then as we get to the bridge, an extra side note is that Kronk was the one who kind of sabotaged the bridge so that Kuzco doesn't get back on Yzma's orders. And while the two of them are hashing it out on the bridge, we are into a mini boss fight with Kronk, which is one that's I've been developing for years. Basically, Kronk will fight, and Small Heartless will help him because Yzma's working with them. Kronk will attack us and everything, but the right shoulder angel will basically say that it's not good what we're doing, and will throw health orbs out, while the left shoulder devil will encourage Kronk to attack, and basically they'll both take turns causing some havoc. Basically along the same ways of how Genie in Kingdom Hearts 1 would say sorry for this and hit us and then throw out health orbs. Seriously, if you die during that Jafar fight, you need help. And once the two hash it out, we get to the palace. We get some Heartless along the way, some Heartless boss. And then we fight Yzma, where she's sending out her soldiers with the potions that turn them and that give them extra strength. Instead of turning them into the animals, it just gives them extra strength. And then we have to fight Yzma herself. And then after all that, Cusco and Pacha thank us for everything we've done. We don't get to see Cusco in human form because it would defeat the illusion. Oh, Emperor's New Groove. It needs to happen. There have been so many people, not just me, who want this amazing world in the next game. It's a crime that it won't. If it isn't. Because it's perfect. Man, that was a long list. Oh. And that's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining in for my top 13 Kingdom Hearts 4 world ideas, which is basically a revamp off of my Kingdom Hearts 3 list. So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Like, comment, subscribe down below. The Christmas season is just getting started. So join me next time where it's time for a Christmas Funko review where it's psychotic, it's crazy, it's maddening, and hopefully I don't get hit in the head with a hammer. This is Gamer K, logging out.